Yes? Okay. So when we just walked from the sun into the shade, did you feel any difference?
It's colder.
It's cooler, yeah? Does it feel a little more humid as well?
Yes.
Yes. So this is what we call a microclimate. So climate is a word that refers to the weather in a large area, but microclimate is how the weather changes based off small differences. And so this we're observing and noticing the importance of trees. So here, because of these trees that are around us, we start to feel this this microclimate changing. So the trees, they provide the shade, helps cool down the temperature. That's kind of an obvious one, I think. But also where the trees are growing, there's often usually more moisture in the ground, in the air. And that's because the shade protects the soil, and so the water doesn't evaporate quickly. But then also the trees themselves breathe. And so this is what we call evapotranspiration. It's a very big word. You don't need to learn it right now. But the leaves, there's the photosynthesis is the process of taking carbon dioxide and water, and then they release oxygen and water. And so the leaves are releasing small particles of water. And so that also helps with the humidity. And so the trees, they provide the shade to the ground. They're releasing moisture into the air. And so that helps it feel cooler in this area. The Cerrado isn't only made up of forests, as you may have known that already. So there's 14 different vegetation cover types in the Cerrado. And within that, it can be subdivided into 3 different categories. There's forests, there's savanna, and there's fields. And so fields are where there's only grasses. There's no trees, and you can just look out and it's only grass. Savanna is where there's a mixture of trees and grasses. And so kind of the area where we're just coming from has that mixture of lobera, of piqui, of other trees, as well as with grasses. And so that's what a traditional savanna looks like. And then we have a forest that looks like this, where there's complete cover from the sun. There's generally much taller trees. In the savanna, the trees might only get to 5, 7, 10 meters maybe. But in the forest, they can grow even taller. And so it's dense vegetation, high trees, and that's because the water isn't readily available to them. Because the Cerrado has the wet season and the dry season, water isn't readily available at all times of the year. And so where there's a lot of rocks underground, the soil can't hold a lot of moisture, and so only grasses can grow there. In the savanna, the soil is much deeper, and so the roots of the trees can drive down very deep into the soil, and so it can reach those nutrients in the soil, the moisture, for them to survive throughout the dry season. And then here, we're close to a creek. And so the trees, there's lots of moisture in the soil, and so the trees have more access to water to grow, and so they can grow much taller. And so that's how we have those differences in the fields, the savannas, and the forests. But then within those 3, it can be subdivided into more categories, and that's where we have the 14 different vegetation cover types.
In Portuguese we say fitofisionomia.
Can you say it louder?
Cover vegetation cover types. In Portuguese we say fitofisionomia. That's like a type of cerrado.
Any questions or comments? Any new words that you just learned? Can anyone repeat one?
Vegetation cover.